Welcome to SORMAG's Writers Cafe, where we share the real writer's life over a cup of friendship, sprinkled with laughter and wisdom. My name is LaShaunda Hoffman, and I'm your host. This episode is sponsored by Virtual Tea with LaShaunda Promotion Strategy Sessions. Sitting with me today at the cafe is TaRessa Stovall, Jahred Rice, Fatima Williams, and Jahred Wright. Welcome, welcome. I would say people, welcome.
Hello.
Okay. First, we're going to let each of the writers introduce themselves, and then we will get into our conversation. So we are going to start with TaRessa. Please tell us a little bit about you and your current book, and then give us an excerpt if you like.
Okay, well, thank you, and hello, everybody. I'm really delighted and honored to be here, so thank you. My name is TaRessa Stovall. I've been writing my whole life. I became a writer when I was 7 years old. I'm a jazz baby, as I call it in my book, from Seattle, Washington. I've written all kinds of things, poems, books, plays, on several topics, including racial identity. I'm also an award-winning journalist and blogger. And fun fact, I'm one of 12 official super fans of the OWN television series Queen Sugar, which is a favorite show. And I'm the proud mother of a son and a daughter who are both multi-talented creatives and writers in the millennial generation. I live in Atlanta, and I stir up trouble on social media. My most recent book is a memoir. And I never really intended to write a memoir, but this one was assigned to me by my ancestors, and it was presented as a non-negotiable. So I had to spend 5 years writing this book. And even though I'd written fiction and nonfiction and had them published by major publishing companies, this book was by far the most challenging thing I'd ever written. It took a long time, had several rewrites and all kinds of things, because I really wanted to make it a special experience for the reader. And so far, the response has been pretty positive, including for my brother. I was really shocked because he's all up in the book. So I was kind of nervous about what he would think. My memoir, which just came out, is titled Swirl Girl, Coming of Race in the USA. And really, the description is it's the true story of how a hard-headed, mixed-race, quote, black power flower child, unquote, battles society and sometimes her closest loved ones to forge her identity on her own terms. I'm a baby boomer, so the book starts on the day of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination and goes through a couple of days after the historic election of President Barack Obama. The Swirl Girl, Coming of Race in the USA. So most of the book takes place when I'm very young, growing up in the late 1960s. This is chapter 13, Say It Loud. And in the 9th grade, my mother decided I needed to integrate a white school across town. And I wasn't happy about it. It was definitely a form of punishment. I was very resentful, troubled teen, and I wasn't interested in doing it. But here I was, 9th grade, out in this place I called Siberia, integrating a school I didn't even want to be at, and encountering some interesting experiences. So this is chapter 13. The title is Say It Loud, because James Brown's anthem came out around that time. The Black is Beautiful movement was in full bloom in the fall of 1968. Afros were ubiquitous. The Afro picks and metal cake cutters used to style them were jammed into back pockets or bouncing in the hair itself. Dashikis blossomed in bright colors, and young people proudly flaunted their burgeoning racial consciousness. Some older people, like my dad, considered the word black a slur. They lived through being called colored and Negro and weren't always on board with this bold new assertion of pride. I was impressed and inspired when U.S. Olympic track stars Tommy Smith and John Carlos saluted Black Power during the 1968 Summer Olympic Games in Mexico City, Mexico. On their way to the podium to receive their gold and bronze medals, respectively, they removed their shoes to protest poverty as they strode toward the podium. They each wore beads and a scarf to protest the lynchings of black men, women, and children. And when the U.S. national anthem blared, they lowered their heads and raised black gloved fists high into the air. The world stopped in its tracks and took notice. A popular saying in the streets was that blackness is a state of mind. Songs about protest, pride, and revolution were interspersed among the love jams on the radio. I was stuck being bused every day for over an hour each way to this white school, Jane Addams, in the North End. In my history class, a boy named Tim was kind of friendly. He was really the only student at Jane Addams who spoke to me. One day he asked point blank, "Why'd you come to this school anyway?" "To racially integrate it." "But you don't look black," he said accusingly. "Well, I'm black enough to get bussed out here." "How does that work? If your dad is black, you're black?" "That's dumb," I laughed. "The only rule I knew was the one Mama taught me, that you're considered Jewish if your mother is Jewish because you grew in her body. The rules about blackness didn't seem nearly as simple or universal. Maybe blackness was a state of mind. "Which boys are better, white ones or black ones?" Tim asked. I flashed to the black boys in my neighborhood and on the bus who preferred white girls. "No such thing as better," I said. I reached into my purse for a wallet and showed him a picture of my boyfriend, Ray. "You like that, baboon?" My brain stalled at Tim's swift change in attitude. I snatched Ray's picture back and jammed it into my purse. So that's an excerpt.
Ooh. I want to punch him for that, but too
you got to
late now.
Find out.
Yes, I do. So my question for you is, how did you decide what to share in your book and what not to share?
That's a great question. I think the hardest thing, at least for me, about memoir was you have to curate your life for public consumption, most of it by strangers who will never meet you or don't know anything about you and don't really care to know anything about you. So I took out a whole lot more than I left in, right? In fact, the resulting book is so physically small I was shocked, because to me the manuscript was just overwhelmingly huge the whole 5 years I worked on it. But how I decided, LaShaunda, was what I had to do was apply a blend of fiction writing technique and journalism to really zoom in on the story that people wanted to hear and to keep, to stay focused on that story. So it's only one aspect of, my very multifaceted lives. We all have multifaceted lives. So people who grew up with me and want to read it, I have to warn them, like, this is only about the development of my racial identity. You're not going to learn about my career. You're not going to learn about my love life. You're not going to learn about my various misadventures, because I've had several. This is only about the development of my identity, and they're kind of surprised. So first, that was a filter. If it wasn't advancing that narrative, then it didn't go in the book. And the writer's trick, I used 2 rounds of beta readers who kicked my behind with lots of love and without mercy. And without them, the book wouldn't be nearly as strong as it is.
I think I'm going to have a separate interview with you, because I got a million questions, but we'll go on. Jahred, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Please.
Hello. Thank you for having me, first of all. I'm excited to be on this call. And so, again, like you said, I'm Jahred Rice. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm 22 years old. I am a dancer, choreographer. I am a mixed media video editor and now author, and I do a lot. I just recently moved back to Maryland from L.A. I lived in L.A. for the past 4 years, studying and getting my degree of Bachelor's of Fine Arts focused in dance at AMDA College in Los Angeles, California. There I also did several different dance ventures, one of them being I danced with Kanye West in his Coachella Sunday Service performance, which was amazing. And so now I am an author. And I just released my first book entitled The Truth About the Truth. It came out on March 25th. This book is basically just a collection of, personal stories and revelations and realizations, all rooted in truth to encourage people to find their truth and walk it out. I wrote this book in the hopes and knowing that this book would be the stepping stone and the slingshot to propel other people to use their truth and whatever they've been through in their lives, good or bad, and using that to, propel them into greatness. I'm very obsessed with greatness, and it's kind of, my bottom line at the end of the day. Every single thing that I do, I want to do in excellence. And so this book is one of those things. I wanted to write a book that was able to, give people a sense of hope and also allow people to understand that no matter what situation or background they came from, that they can use all of that for their good, and they don't have to be stuck in a certain place, but they also have people out there who understand where they've come from. Me personally, I've put in this book a lot of my life, including my trials and tribulations, some dating back to when I was in middle school and high school, dealing and suffering from depression and going through different situations. For example, when I was 16 years old, I was subject to a home invasion and a robbery set up by two of my closest friends. So I've been through a lot of struggles and pain, and so I understand those things very personally. And so I wanted to put those things into a book because I know a lot of people have troubles talking about it and, really getting those emotions and that hurt out to surface, and it can really hinder us as people. So I needed to write something that was going to, heal a generation. And so that's what my book is about. And I wanted to read a short little excerpt of my book. And this comes towards the end of the book. I finished the book off by giving a couple of key points and takeaways that I would like the reader to, keep with them after they finish the book. I want to read 2 brief points that I put in there, and I'll start now. The first one being point number 2, vulnerability is power. The society and culture of the world today have tricked us into thinking that being open and vulnerable are signs of weakness. It's all a lie. Many of us, including myself, have experienced things in our lives that have ruined and tainted our ability to feel and our ability to be vulnerable with anybody, especially ourselves. It is even sometimes hard to be real and honest with ourselves because of what others have tricked us into believing. I want to tell you now that your vulnerability is powerful. I'll explain why. The power of life and death lies within your mouth and in your words. Being vulnerable and speaking your truth does only one thing. It brings life to a dead or dying situation in other people's lives. By you standing up and being vulnerable, your life has just become the key to unlocking the door of freedom, liberation, and strength in another. All it takes is one person to live out the strength of vulnerability to liberate an entire generation. Will that one person be you? And number 3, your truth is your truth. Never forget the vastness and intensity and the weight of your truth. Do not let others diminish what you know to be true. I say this because oftentimes when we try to live out our truth, it is downplayed and sometimes disrespected. But no matter the response, your truth is your truth. You must be brave enough to stand in it and, most importantly, share it. Remember all that the truth has shown you, what it has taught you, the good, bad, and the ugly. Remember it all. It can be the fuel that lights the fire of a person who will go on to change the world naturally and eternally. And that is my excerpts from my book.
Wow, that was great. Who do you think your book is for?
My book is for everybody, essentially. It's for any and everybody who's ever felt lonely, who's ever felt ashamed of what they've been through, who's ever been, too scared to open up, whoever has any type of void or pain that they feel like they have nowhere else to turn. My book is for all generations. It's for all ages because at any age, we all have experienced things, no matter how young or how old. We've experienced things that have in some way affected us negatively and positively. And we can all use each and every one of those things to be great. And so my book is really just for anybody who wants to take a firm grip of the truth that they live day in and day out. And it's for anybody who wants to, step into an area of greatness in their life.
Thank you. Fatima, you ready? Unmute yourself. So are you there, Fatima?
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi there. Thank you all so much for having me this evening. It's a pleasure to be here on the podcast on today. My name is Fatima Williams. I am from Wake Forest, North Carolina. I am a mother, a wife, a grandmother. I am an entrepreneur. I am an ordained minister for over 19 years. I'm in pastoral along with my husband, Bishop Cornelius Williams, as well. I am a registered nurse for almost 30 years, and now I am an author. This is my first book. I have been inspired to really focus on the ministry with women. My ministry strongly surrounds around women as far as counseling. I've started an organization this year called My Sister's Keeper, Women of Victory, and that surrounds women of domestic violence. I'm really passionate about helping women of domestic violence, and we're just getting this started. And so I'm a caregiver to my heart. I have a heart to really help people come out and walk in freedom. And I feel like my book largely expresses that. My book is The Heart of a Godly Woman. And as I said, this is my first book. This is my first time writing. It has been an extreme pleasure writing this book. This book was birthed through and by the Holy Spirit, and it was birthed through situations. Each poem was individually written and inspired through situations that I may have experienced at the time. A lot of times, a poem would drop in my spirit immediately after going through a situation or coming up against a situation, and I would write immediately. Or it could be birthed from things that other women may have experienced that I'm close to or may have counseled, and immediately a poem is dropped in my spirit and I would write. So this is nothing that I just sat down and said, well, let me just write a poem. They were all inspired. They were all spontaneously inspired to be written through various situations. And so the purpose really of my book, The Heart of a Godly Woman, is basically a book of poetry to touch the hearts of women who trust God in all situations and through all struggles. And that's the purpose of the book. And I feel like any woman, female, young woman, even teenagers who read this book, they can find themselves in there somewhere through my poetry. There's a poem in there that someone can relate to. And so I would like to read a couple of poems from my book. The first one is called Fortress. Where is your victory? Fortress, I built you to protect me from the past hurts that I experienced before. I built you to surround me, to control what comes in and out of the door. Fortress, I built you to numb me from all emotions that attempt to appear. I built you to shield me from anything harmful that could draw near. Fortress, I built you through my own construction to stop me from caring, feeling, and thinking. I built you from my inner tools so I can function without blinking. Why am I building my own fortress when God said he's my fortress and my rock? Why am I building my own fortress? when I'm blocking out the one who's with me around the clock? Why am I building my own fortress? Father, you know exactly what to do. Why am I building my own fortress when all I need is you? So that's one of my poems from my book, The Heart of a Godly Woman. And I would like to read another one that kind of is inspirational concerning purpose. Equipped for purpose. I'm equipped to win. Perseverance is all I know. My eyes are locked on my vision. I'm unstoppable. It's time to grow. Failure makes me resilient. The comeback is so surreal. While riding on the wing of peace, I'm optimistic about the whole ordeal. Naysayers have their own opinion. My heart says I'm created for success. With a whisper here and a giggle there, I'm empowered to be the best of the best. I am equipped for purpose. P, perseverance. U, unstoppable. R, resilient. P, peace. O, optimistic. S, success. E, empowered. I'm equipped for purpose. So those are two of my poems out of my book, A Heart of a Godly Woman. And the poems, they range from so many different aspects, from just being in the presence of God and to women loving themselves, to armoring up, going through situations, life situations, victories, in silence, going through silent attacks and coming out. So I feel like this book would be a blessing to many. And, there are poems in here I'm sure that men can be blessed from as well. But, however, this book is geared towards women, The Heart of a Godly Woman, and I know that, and I feel that it will bless the masses who read it.
Thank you. Those were beautiful poems. What draws you to writing poetry?
Well, my first poem was written, I had gone back to school back in 2013, and one of the instructors had us to write a poem for this particular class, and that's actually the first poem in this book, and it's called The Inner Struggles of a Godly Woman. And that poem was written during that time, and that kind of started the poem writing. And like I said earlier, every time that there was a situation that inspired me to write, I would just start writing. I would just start writing poems, and I was just led by God to, okay, let's turn this. We're gonna do a poetry book. And so I only wrote when I was inspired to write, and so over the next 5 years, I continued doing so, and I developed this book, The Heart of a Godly Woman, and it gives it, I think, because of the time that was put in it and the time range that it was written, it really gives a variety of different poems from different situations that women with different issues and challenges and experiences will be able to relate to one of these poems in this book.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, you ready?
Greetings. Yes, I'm ready. So my name is Jahred Rice. I am been writing professionally probably 20 years now. I am an author of African American suspense and thrillers, urban fiction, and I also write black speculative fiction under the pen name Aziza Sphinx. I am a techie by trade. I'm a writer by necessity. I'm a 100% Georgia peach, though I am far from a Southern belle, though I can play the part if necessary. I'm definitely not a girly girl, and that shows up a lot of times in my characters. My women tend to have non-traditional jobs or jobs that are traditionally held by men, such as tow truck drivers, drag racers, that type of thing. And I am the daughter of an English teacher, so I've had books pretty much all my life. So I've been writing since I was a little kid, but like I said, I've been writing professionally for about 20 years. I'm going to read an excerpt from my latest African-American suspense. The name of it is called The Agency, Revive and Resurrection. This is actually the reader-requested follow-up to my book, Love and Deja. So spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't read it, this is the son's story. The section that I'm going to read to you is right after G, the father, finds out that his son is missing. G forced the door, the knob hanging against the wall and sticking. They'd worry about the hole he'd just put into the plaster later. As chaos entered and cleared the place, G took note of the door job. Marks indicated at some point someone had attempted to pry the door open. He dismissed the information as chaos signaled the place was clear. G entered and immediately noticed the chair that should have been out of the way sat directly in front of the door. This was definitely Marius's work. Whenever in a new place, always place an object in the direct path of entry. Potential robbers didn't expect the item to be there, and in total darkness, it proved to be the perfect distraction. The back bedroom looks undisturbed. G cut his eyes at chaos. He glanced at the couch, which also showed no signs of being disturbed. The chair was always another option. G did remember Rip saying something about Marius only taking his basics, so the likelihood of him having a bag other than his book bag diminished with each passing moment. The two men stood looking into the guest bedroom. A rolling carry-on suitcase and a small black duffel bag sat on the floor next to the standard issue hotel armoire. The bed in this room had been disturbed, with its sheets rumpled and the comforter pushed to the floor. Either Natalia, Marius, or possibly both had spent the night in this bed, or one of them had slept on the floor. You think they? Chaos chose not to finish the statement, knowing the underlying implication. I can assure you they did not. Both men turned at the voice. You two look like you've seen a ghost. Oh, wait, I am the only one who could ever sneak up on you two unnoticed. So I guess I am a ghost. Nadia sat straight back, legs crossed in the chair in front of the door, staring out over the landscape. You're sitting on evidence. G allowed his anger and annoyance to bleed into his voice. Chaos had assured him the place hadn't been touched, and aside from opening the door to secure the perimeter, they'd made a point to leave things undisturbed. As far as local law enforcement is concerned, you are correct. However, Mr. Reaper, you should know from experience things aren't always what they seem. She faced chaos and rattled off some instructions in Russian. She does know I've learned Russian since our last encounter. No, I was not aware of your change in status. Well then, Chaos, Shinobi is waiting for you. I'll escort our comrade in once we've had an opportunity to become reacquainted. I think it might be best if Nadia shut Chaos down with a sneer. You have your charge, just as I. At this moment, it would behoove you to tend to yours. G stood in silence, watching the rare power struggle between Chaos and Nadia. He'd been out of the agency for a very long time, and apparently something he was unaware had transpired between these two. When all of this was over, G would have to ask Chaos the details of whatever it was. His friend usually didn't back down from anyone, and especially not from a lesser-ranking agent. My, had times changed. Chaos sucked his teeth and huffed before exiting the apartment without another word. Moments later, they heard the spinning of tires over a gravel driveway as the man sped off to handle his assigned business. Now that that's settled, you and I have much to talk about. Nadia stood. She quickly closed the distance between them, leaning around him to see what distracted them enough that neither had heard her enter. Are you going to tell me how you are so certain my son and your daughter didn't have a fling? Nadia shot him an evil grin before responding. Don't get me wrong. I am well aware of the propensities of my daughter. She was appropriately assigned the call name The Charmer. However, there is one piece of information I am privy to that she is not. Until she has perfect clarity as it relates to this issue, I can guarantee your son is safe. You sound like you think I'm concerned about her corrupting my boy. Au contraire. I know your son has been raised to be a gentleman and would never allow a woman to convince him to do anything he otherwise doesn't wish to do. However, that is a discussion we should have over lunch, which right about now would be quite appropriate. I need to check on my family. Oh, come on. She pressed her body firmly to his as she ran her hands over his pets. Besides, the local authorities will be here at any moment, and we need to make ourselves scarce. Thank you.
Thank you. That was good. Why did you choose this genre to write in?
I didn't choose my characters chose. I do what I'm told.
I like that.
That's the short answer. I am but the scribe, so I do as I'm told, and I am allowed to maintain my sanity.
Mm-hmm. True writer there, true writer. All right, so we're going to take a break for our sponsor. This episode's sponsor is Virtual Tea with LaShaunda, Promotion Strategy Sessions. Are you frustrated by your promotion? It's time for a virtual tea session with LaShaunda, private one-on-one promotion coaching. Inside this session, you will discuss your promotion struggles and learn how to start a promotion plan. You will receive tips on how to be consistent with your promotion, how to find readers, how to use social media in your promotion plan, and tools you can use every day to improve your promotion so you can become the social butterfly you're meant to be. Check the show notes for the links so you can schedule your virtual tea promotion strategy session and get on track to being a social butterfly. So, welcome back to SORMAG's Writers Cafe. Today I am chatting with TaRessa Stovall, Jahred Rice, Fatima Williams, and Jahred Rice. Thank you for being with us this evening. My first question is about what we're going through right now. How are you all handling the quarantine? We'll start with TaRessa.
Hi there. Well, I'm old, so I'm in a high-risk group on forced self-isolation. I've been, today it's been 2 months since I've had any in-person human interaction. And I have to tell you, I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm busy and super busy, actually, and with the book, and I'm writing a new novel, and just kind of getting used to the new normal of my daily life and finding the natural rhythms spiritually and creatively, and spending a lot of time in club quarantine with D Nice and his various DJs, so I'm getting some exercise. That's the cool part. The horrible part is the virus, and I think what makes it even worse is that many of the people in elected politicians, I'm talking about specifically, I live in Georgia, so we've got, a crazy man making, insane decisions, but really, many local politicians are in alignment with the president. Their goal is basically to destroy and kill as many people as possible, and that's just really clear. So you have that, and then the fact that the whole world is on a learning curve right now, and nobody in the world really understands this virus. It keeps mutating. It keeps changing. I just read today where it's hitting very young children with completely different symptoms and leaving a lot of long-term damage. So, that's scary and it's terrifying, and we have to grapple with what it means to us individually. We're all making different choices about the risks that we're willing to take, in terms of being exposed to the virus. So it's a really intense balancing act, I think, for everybody, and I think an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves in relation to the world and to nature, and to think about what the new normal is going to be, because I'm not sure anybody knows, but I think there are a lot of possibilities, there are a lot of changes, and a lot of upheaval. So I'm feeling all those things at the same time.
I understand. I do. I really do. How's it going for you, Jahred?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm really enjoying this time. For me, this whole quarantine has been nothing but just eye-opening to the potential that I have. I've definitely been able to refocus on a lot of different things and pursuits. Now currently trading Forex. I'm writing my second book, as well as really having the time to continue to pursue my video editing. I create a lot of different book trailers for people as well. So if you guys ever need a trailer for your book, please get in contact with me. But yeah, overall, this whole quarantine, I've been really blessed to, be in great health, to not have any worries, to have, food on my plate every single day. And I feel very, very, very fortunate in this time. And it's been a very good time for my spirituality and my heart, really. It has been a great time to rejuvenate my spirit and get a lift and give myself a boost. So I've been really having a good time in quarantine.
I'm glad to hear that, because I think it's like three different people that's dealing with this quarantine. Those who are scared to death and not doing anything, those whose creative mind has just exploded, and then some are just, going with the flow. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm kind of a little bit of all of them. So I have my days, so that's good. How are you doing, Fatima?
I am doing great. Definitely this has given a lot of time, I think, not only for myself, but for many, to spend a lot of quality time with family. A lot of times we get caught up in life and the hustle and bustle and going and ripping and running and going here and there to and fro. But I think this has slowed society down to just be able to spend a lot of valuable family time. And we definitely have been doing that. And I'm number two, at which you just said. I think that my creative juices have really flowed during quarantine. I actually am working in collaboration with another group in a second book that I'm working on, Sold Out Volume 2 with Fatima Williams. I'm sure you're all familiar with that name. So that was a blessing that came down. Just being in ministry alone, of course, we had to be creative in doing virtual church. So that has really taken us to another level and got our creativeness going, and it's really exciting and give you ideas for even when you come back together that you can continue on some of these things. And I think you learn a lot about yourself being in quarantine, being in the situation that we've been in, because just being isolated, I guess you could say, it teaches you just find out more about you as a person. Are you good with where you are? What's in you? What can you do with what's in you? Are you going to just shut down and become depressed or whatever? Or are you in need of being around people? It just brings light to a lot of situations. So I can go on and on about quarantine because I've had a lot of positive experiences, but of course, trusting God through it all. Trusting God through it all, using precautions. I don't feel like a lot of people are really talking as a nurse aspect, using all the precautions that they need to use, and a lot of people are not wearing the mask, and a lot of people are not doing social distancing. So, but it's been a positive experience spiritually and just on the natural level, just creatively. I've grown through quarantine.
That I like that. I had just come off a furlough, so we went right into a quarantine. So it's been a big experience for me. I had to realized that I was very lazy when it came to my writing, and that I had no excuses right now to not be doing anything. It's easy to say, oh, my mind, but I had no excuses. So one of the lessons that I learned from myself is that I stopped LaShaunda. Nobody else stops LaShaunda but me. And so that was a really hard lesson, but it was good because I'm now working on completing stuff that I've been talking about for a couple of years. So I think that this is a great time to reflect on you, what you want out of life, what you want to do going forward. I hope that everybody who is listening to this, has taken some time, one day to think about that. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you feel your purpose is? Sometimes things like this let us know that we're not on the right track. We've just been on that wheel running and not doing what we want to do, And so I think that you definitely have to take time to look at your life and see, is it going the route that you want? Are you ready to, somebody says time to pivot. Is it time to pivot? Who knows? Anna Gia, I'm going to say your name all wrong. Anna, you have anything to say?
I'm probably that go with the flow person, but aside from working remotely, I'm still at my 9-to-5 job, 8:30 to 5. So it's business as usual for me. I'm an empath, so I don't people. So this whole thing, that was my regular MO. And because I am a quote-unquote extreme couponer, I didn't have to go out running for anything. We had stacks and forts of stuff just because I buy stuff, whenever I have coupons on top of coupons on top of coupons. So I've actually had no need to leave the house. And even with getting, like, food, there's a black farm not too far from me that they actually do fruit and vegetable delivery, so supporting the local economy and, still being able to get fresh stuff. But then I garden, and the weather's been odd, so I've been hesitant to start some of my stuff outside. But, basic stuff that I could do, potatoes and that sort of thing that I can bring in and out the house, I've started. So, like I said, this is business as usual for me.
You were prepared. We need to learn from you. That's one of the things on my agenda is to start a garden. I told my family that that's what I wanted for Mother's Day, and they laughed at me. They thought I was playing. So I didn't get my vegetables that they had 3 for $10 this weekend because they was thinking I was playing. So I guess I have to go get my own vegetables. Because I always believe in better be safe than sorry. So this experience here has definitely taught me that, to make sure that your cupboards are full and you don't have to run out. If you don't have to go out, then you don't have to go out. And the only reason I'm working from home now, this is a new experience for me. It's definitely teaching me, if I want to be a full-time writer, that I definitely have to have a schedule, because if not, I'll be watching TV all day. So I have to keep a schedule, get myself in order. But I have learned a lot during this quarantine. So coming out of it will be good for me. All right, so I have 2 questions. Well, a question for Jahred and Fatima. What has your experience been like as a new author?
As a new author, I would honestly say it was a roller coaster ride for me writing this book. Just putting it together, the actuality of my book is a culmination of about 3 years worth of, stories and revelations and whatnot and dreams that I put into this book that I decided to put together in early January. Being a new author, it was definitely, at times difficult, just trying to shape it, and allowing it to take form, because, books kind of have a life of their own. And so, you just can't really force anything with it. You have to let it develop and become its own kind of thing, its own kind of person. So that was definitely kind of a struggle, because, I'm very good at going with the flow, but when it comes to my creative life, I like to have a lot of control. And so I had to really just allow God to take the reins on this one and just allow it to shape itself out. But then on the other side of it, once the book was released, I had to put a lot of work into, the promotion of the book and getting the word out and stuff, which was definitely something that I didn't necessarily, take into consideration when I was writing the book. And then quickly it hit me that, wait, this book isn't going to sell itself, and people aren't going to just, pick it up for no reason, that there has to be, some type of, something behind it, pushing it. And so that was definitely new for me. But I took it on, and with the help, from my team and all the people that support me, we were able to come up with, fun ideas and different ways to promote it through book trailers, through, word of mouth, through interviews, and so on and so forth. And so I would say my experience as a new author has definitely been amazing, but challenging, all in the same.
I'm glad that you stepped back and looked at your promotion side. I think that's the thing that a lot of authors don't think about while they're writing, and you really need to take time to think about it, because what are you going to do to get people to buy that book? You hit that is online, is released, and then you go, I haven't done anything. And so I'm glad to hear that you have a team. That's very helpful, because trying to do it by yourself is very, very hard. And in this time of where everything is shut down, you have to, as I said before, pivot and try something new. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But Fatima, how has your experience been?
Well, it was very interesting. First of all, just being a first-time author, I could say it was liberating in the fact that in writing my book, I wrote poems, poetry, and, of course, every poem brought a liberation for me. Patience was definitely needed because of the process, because it's such a learning curve. And so I learned a lot. I learned a lot through the process. The writing part, to me, was the easy part. But it's after that, going through the editing process, as he was saying, the promotion process, how to promote, using social media and branding yourself, yourself, your book, in different social networks, coming out any uncomfortable zones that you may be in as far as being, socially out there, because I'm on social media, but I didn't do a lot of Facebook Lives and things like that. It kind of cracked that shell with me as far as promotion. And it's been exciting, with the liberation, the learning, the patience that it required. But it's also been exciting as well. My company was Chosen Pen, and my editor, Angela Anderson, they have done a great job with working with me on this. Teaching me along the way of things, I need to know, things to expect, the outlines, layouts. Of course, the ups and downs of the delays, because you're anxious. And my book actually hasn't hit yet. It's going to be released in a couple of weeks, so I'm still waiting on that process. We've gone through Amazon. I became the #1 Amazon bestseller, and I'm in the poetry section and international bestseller and all that. That part was very exciting. Your first time writing a book is very exciting for me, and I was honored. I was very grateful and feel blessed by it. But it's been a journey. It's really been a journey. But the largest part for me is learning. I've learned so much in this process. So going through the next book, because I already have a book that's been dropped in my spirit to start writing, I will know more of what to expect, and I know more of what to do going forward.
That's good, to stay in the learning mode, because that's what helps you move forward when you stay in the learning mode, because with promotion, there's always something different. There's always a new platform. There's always a new tool, and a lot of people get set in their ways and they go, I just need Facebook. And no, right now we are in a time where you can't even go outside to sell a book. So what are you guys doing to meet new readers in this time of quarantine? Ooh, we all got quiet, huh?
I didn't know you was answering the question. I mean, a lot of people now are doing like the DJs are doing. They're actually doing live readings of their works. A lot of the conferences have actually moved to a virtual platform. So you're still getting that camaraderie. You're still getting the people who normally would have come to these conferences, but now they're just doing it virtually. So they're still getting the exposure. You're still getting the opportunities, just in a different way. And in some ways, you're actually getting more people or a different set of people than you may have gotten in a physical event, because people who couldn't afford to travel, who still, were watching those events, now have the opportunity to actually, log in virtually and, get that exposure.
To me, that's my favorite part, because I'm an online girl and I love doing events. And I actually have signed up for like 2 events that I've always wanted to go to, but I couldn't afford it, or I couldn't travel to it at the time when they was having it. And so I think that's great. I still have a few clients who have not come on the online board yet because they just don't like the Zoom and all that. But I think that you have to learn to embrace change when it comes to your marketing, when it comes to your writing, because if you don't, you get left behind, and then you're not selling books. And I ask people this all the time is, how are you selling books? Because you have to have a way to get in front of new readers every day. If you're not doing social media, then what are you doing? Are you using email marketing? Are you doing podcasts? Are you doing magazines? What are you doing? And a lot of people, this quarantine has shut them down because their only thing, a way of doing anything was going to live events. They wasn't using social media at all. Can't fathom doing social media when a lot of these events, they make a lot of money off of that. So they either shut it completely down or bring it online. And I'm glad to see a lot of them have brought it online. And they're introducing themselves to a lot more people internationally, that maybe who couldn't afford to come to America to do a conference. But now they attended, and then hopefully when they can afford, they'll come because they had a great experience. What are you all doing? Anybody else do anything different than they normally do?
Well, this is TaRessa.
Yeah. You can go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go, TaRessa.
Oh, okay, thank you. So, I'm a boomer, right? So I'm not a digital, and so, but I love technology, and I love everything internet. So what I'm doing, I have to mosey on over to Instagram and do something on there besides party would be nice. So I got to start building my Instagram world, which feels a little bit overwhelming. I've been, very good on Facebook and very good on Twitter for a long, long time. But I'm, like you said, LaShaunda, I just opened up a Zoom account. I've been playing with Animoto slideshows and videos and things like that. Everything to promote my book. I get up in the morning and it's like, what can I do to sell some books today, So really, like you said, learning, branching out. I'm getting ready to do YouTube. I'm getting ready to offer, all kinds of online versions of myself. And I've always been a writer, so being in front of a camera isn't my happy place. But I know that it's necessary, and more to the point, I know the power of it. And this is the future. The world is not going to go back the way it was. It's just not.
I was talking about that today. I was telling them when I was in the Navy, I lived in Guam, and so everything you had to buy, back then you just had catalogs. We didn't have online, so you had to buy everything through catalogs. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to that stage, but it looks like we're going backwards instead of forward. But, it just depends on where, I guess, what area you are in. Lots of people love online shopping. I'm just one of those who doesn't. I like to try stuff on, and so that's gonna be hard for me, is not being able to go into a store and try things on, because I think that's gonna be part of the social distancing, is that you can't come in and try things on. So, but I'm okay. I just have to learn to be okay with it, you know. Jahred, what were you trying to share?
Pretty much the same thing everybody else said, but you know, the Instagram, the social media. I'm actually coming up soon, putting together an online sort of book club for my book to talk a little bit more in depth about the different topics that came up in my book and the different things that were talked about in my book. So that's another way that I'm going to reach people. And yeah, just pretty much what everybody else said. It's kind of been the same for me. I'm a little bit of the younger crowd, so I'm a little bit more, technically, I guess, savvy, and so it makes a lot of sense for me. So, I haven't had too much of an issue with it. But also just trying to just continue to build that base on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. Just getting it to grow, getting my numbers to grow day by day. That's kind of been the goal and what's been happening.
That's good. I like that you have a goal for, growing your base and trying different things. The book club will be excellent because each book you bring out, you grow more people to come into the club. So I definitely think that's a great idea. As I was telling Fatima, just stay in the learning mode. Learn different things, try stuff. Like TaRessa is trying to IG. You went on there to check out D Nice, and you said, okay, it's not that bad, huh? I think with any social media platform, it's what you want to put into it. When I got on TikTok, I was like, I'm not dancing. It's not going to happen. You're not going to see this gray-haired girl getting on TikTok dancing. So I had to find out, what did I want to do on TikTok? What did I want to share on TikTok? And that's what you have to look at when you're looking at platforms, is what is it that you can offer to this platform? What can make you shine on this platform? And a lot of people get on there and try to do what everybody else is doing, but that doesn't bring the people to you. You got to be different. Like D Nice, he went out there and DJ'd, and he DJ'd for hours. Then you saw other people trying to do that, but nobody was coming to visit them, because they didn't have the same flavor, So you have to, what makes you sparkle? What makes you stand out? And then you do that, and you show what you have. Each one of you all have something different that you can bring to the platforms and share. You all have different experiences. What you like and what you don't like. Do the fun stuff. That's what I always tell my clients. Do the fun stuff, because the fun stuff will be what you continue to do. If you don't like doing something, guess what you do? You go sit on the couch and you don't do it. So if you find something that you like on Instagram, or you find something on TikTok or social media, maybe you find out that once you do a live, hey, I actually like doing lives. That's what I found out. I've done podcasts, I've done online radio. I was not getting in front of the camera. That was not part of my deal. But got on Periscope and fell in love with it. So, find what you like, and you'll see that you can have a good time with your promotion. All right, so we're going to end with you all telling us how we can get in touch with you online, social media, or websites. We'll start with Miss TaRessa.
Hi, my name is TaRessa Stovall. The website where you can get a free sneak peek of my new memoir, Swirl Girl, Coming of Race in the USA, is my name. So it's TaRessa Stovall, TaRessaStovall.com. Everything is there on the website, convenient to buy, get a free sneak peek, read reviews, all kinds of things. Social media, TaRessa Stovall on Facebook, and on Instagram and Twitter, it's at TaRessa Talks, all one word.
You ready, Jahred?
All right. I'm Jahred Rice. You can find me, first of all, I have a website as well, www.jahredrice.com. You spell my name Jahredrice. That's Jahredrice. And on Instagram, it's the same thing. It's Jahred_Rice. So JAHRED_RICE. And on there, you can find a lot of my content, which includes my book and my book trailers that I've put together for my book, as well as a few other books, and also just my life in terms of my dancing and creativity. So please find that. And then you can also find my book on Amazon.com. It is entitled, again, The Truth About the Truth. And that is The Truth About the Truth. You just go on Amazon, it'll pop right up. You'll see my face on the book cover, and that's how you can find me and reach me.
Fatima?
Yes, I am Fatima Williams, and you can find me. I do have a website, and it is IamFatimaWilliams.com. IamFatimaWilliams.com. Also, I have a Facebook page at I Am Fatima Williams, and I also have another one, Fatima C. Williams, and I'm also on Instagram at I Am Fatima Williams as well. So you can find me on all of those platforms.
Okay. Anagia, you ready?
Yes, I am. Good evening again, everyone. You can locate me at either Instagram, Twitter. I'm at Anagia Wright. That's ANAGIAWRIGHT. And I also have links on my website to all my books. They are actually available on all platforms, and that would be anagiawright.com. And if anybody happens to enjoy speculative fiction, I actually do have links to my alter ego, Aziza Sphinx, on all of those pages. So if you can find me in one place, you can find me that other identity in that same place.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to write a review on the platform you're listening to, or send a review to me at onesormag@gmail.com. I love hearing from our listeners. It always makes my day. Would you like to be a guest on SORMAG's Writers Cafe? Send an email to onesormag@gmail.com. I would like to thank our sponsor for this episode, Virtual Tea with LaShaunda, Promotion Strategy Sessions. Check the link in the show notes to schedule your virtual tea. Would you like to be a sponsor and on an episode of SORMAG Writers Cafe? Send an email to onesormag@gmail.com. I want to thank my guests for being with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. And it was really,
yes, it was wonderful.
Thank
I
you.
loved all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, LaShaunda. You rock.
Thank you. So my social butterflies, if you haven't taken time to promote your book or services today, go showcase those wings, because somebody needs what you have to offer. This is LaShaunda Hoffman, and guess what? I'll see you on the net.